The Young and the Restless spoilers shock Saturday's full October 18, 2025. Holden had poured every bit of his energy into making the Los Angeles trip unforgettable for Claire. He'd planned it down to the smallest detail, every restaurant, every viewpoint, every quiet place where the city's chaotic beauty could unfold in front of them. He wanted her to see only the best of it, the golden glow of the Pacific sunsets, the hum of the city lights, the kind of joy that promised new beginnings. But all of that brightness dimmed the moment they stepped into Sienna Bacall's nightclub. The lighting was sultry and golden, the air perfumed with nostalgia and champagne, and Sienna herself stood there radiant, poised, and impossibly aware of the effect she had on him. For Holden, it felt like time had folded back on itself. Seeing Sienna again dragged him into a past he had fought to bury. His heart raced in his chest, not from attraction but from panic. She was a reminder of everything reckless, everything unhealed. When she called him out for being the troublemaker he used to be, her laughter sounded almost kind, but there was an edge to it, the kind that only someone who truly remembered your worst moments could carry. And then, just as he thought he might survive the encounter with his dignity intact, she spoke a name that turned his blood to ice, Audra. The teacup in his hand nearly slipped, his breath caught halfway between denial and dread. Claire's eyes widened with curiosity. She had never heard that name before. There was something in Holden's reaction, the stiffness in his jaw, the fleeting shadow across his face, that told her this wasn't a casual mention. She asked who Audra was, but Holden brushed it off, claiming it was ancient history, a story not worth retelling. Yet Sienna, with her flair for drama and her uncanny sense of timing, couldn't resist. She painted half a picture of a younger Holden, impulsive, defiant, living on charm and chaos, and a woman named Audra who had once turned his world upside down. The more Sienna hinted, the more Claire realized how little she knew about the man sitting beside her. Holden had always been confident, composed, the kind of man who carried mystery like a perfectly tailored suit. But now, that composure cracked, and what leaked through was fear, not of Sienna, but of the past itself. When the conversation ended, Holden pulled Sienna aside, his tone measured but cold. He told her that Audra belonged to another time, that her name and everything it carried should stay buried. He wasn't the same man anymore, he said, he had fought too hard to leave that version of himself behind. He wanted to focus on Claire, to show her the Los Angeles he loved, the one built on art, music, and quiet redemption, not the one haunted by the ghosts of mistakes. He warned Sienna not to make him regret being civil. Sienna's eyes softened then, and though she smiled, there was a glint of mischief in it, as if she understood far more than she would ever admit. She lifted a hand, called the bartender over, and ordered another round on the house, insisting it was her way of welcoming them. It was her peace offering, but also her reminder that the past never truly stays silent. Holden tried to laugh, to ease the tension, but his mind was elsewhere. As the music pulsed through the room and the glasses clinked, he looked at Claire, trying to read the thoughts behind her polite smile. She was beautiful under the dim light, her expression thoughtful, her curiosity just beginning to sharpen. He knew that she would not let this go, that the name Audra would linger in her mind long after they left the club. And he dreaded the questions that would follow. Outside, the night air of Los Angeles wrapped around them like warm velvet, but Holden felt the chill of old memories clawing at the edges of his calm. Claire slipped her hand into his, but her silence said more than words ever could. He could feel her pulling away, just slightly, the way someone does when a shadow passes between trust and doubt. He smiled, masking the unease, promising her more sights, more laughter, more beauty. But deep down, he knew that Sienna's reappearance had changed something. The city that was supposed to be a celebration of the present had become a mirror reflecting everything he wanted to forget. And somewhere in that reflection, the name Audra echoed, soft, dangerous, unforgettable. Under the violet pulse of the nightclub lights, Holden felt the night closing in on him like an old habit he could never quite quit. He had brought Claire here to forget, to replace the weight of memory with the glitter of Los Angeles, the way the skyline burned at dusk, the rhythm of music that could drown out thought. But Sienna Bacall was never the sort of ghost that stayed buried. When Claire stepped away to take a call, Sienna's smile sharpened into something predatory. She asked, softly, if she had frightened the girl. Holden warned her to stop. Mentioning Audra was dangerous. Claire had her own history with that name, and the last thing he wanted was the past colliding with the fragile happiness he had managed to rebuild. Sienna only laughed, low and knowing. She said Claire didn't seem like his usual type, too soft, too trusting, too pure for a man who once thrived on adrenaline and ruin. Holden said she didn't know Claire. Beneath the calm exterior was a mind like a maze, full of unspoken secrets, and that was what drew him in. She was clever, unpredictable, capable of both saving and destroying him. It was, in a way, exactly what had drawn him to Sienna once upon a time. When Claire returned, Sienna's demeanor transformed instantly. The laughter became warmth, the cynicism turned to charm. She reached out, fingers light on the rim of her glass, and told Claire not to let anyone step over her, to guard herself fiercely, to remember that even love could be a kind of battlefield. She said it twice, her eyes flicking briefly toward Holden, as if the message was meant for both of them. Claire smiled politely, but the words sank like stones. She could feel the temperature shift, sense the tension between the two of them, the careful way Holden avoided Sienna's gaze, the glimmer of unspoken things that passed in the silence between their breaths. When they left the club, Los Angeles felt different, too bright, too loud, like a stage where everyone was acting out a script they already knew would end badly. In the car, Holden said little. Claire watched the reflections of passing neon streak across his face, searching for the truth in the set of his jaw. The name Audra kept replaying in her mind, tangled with Sienna's strange advice. She didn't know who Audra was or why Holden seemed so shaken, but she knew one thing, he was hiding something. And whatever it was, it had the power to unmake the version of him she thought she knew. Back at the hotel, she pretended to sleep, while Holden stood at the window, staring out over the city like a man listening for footsteps from the past. He thought about Sienna's words, that the past had a way of clawing its way back, and felt an old chill spread through him. Years ago, Los Angeles had nearly destroyed him. He and Audra had been inseparable then, two reckless dreamers caught in a spiral of ambition and deceit. They had stumbled into a mess too big to control, money that wasn't theirs, promises that ended with sirens, and a witness who disappeared before the truth could catch up. That witness had been Sienna Bacall. Whether she had saved them or betrayed them, Holden still couldn't say. What he did know was that after that night, Audra vanished and he left the city, determined never to look back. Seeing Sienna again meant that the story wasn't finished. Sienna, meanwhile, watched the couple leave her club with an expression that was almost tender. She had warned Holden years ago that ghosts never stay quiet. The irony, she thought, was that he still didn't believe her. She poured herself another drink and let the memories roll back, Holden's panic the night everything fell apart, the way Audra had looked at her just before she fled, the sound of glass breaking, police lights flashing against the rain. She had kept their secret because it suited her then. But time had a way of shifting loyalties, and now, with Holden back in her orbit, she wondered if the truth might finally serve her again. The next morning, Claire wandered the hotel balcony, her mind still replaying Sienna's warning. She tried to tell herself it was meaningless, a passing remark from a stranger, yet something in her intuition whispered otherwise. She asked Holden about Sienna, how they knew each other, why she seemed to know so much. He brushed it off, claiming they'd run in the same circles once, nothing more. His smile was practiced, but his eyes betrayed him. Claire didn't press further, she simply filed it away, adding it to the growing list of mysteries she intended to unravel. As the days passed, Los Angeles began to lose its magic. Everywhere they went seemed haunted by Sienna's presence, her name on the lips of bartenders, her songs echoing through hotel lounges, her shadow stretching long across Holden's composure. Claire started to notice how often he looked over his shoulder, how his laughter came forced, how he avoided certain streets. The city that was supposed to bring them closer was now pulling them apart. One evening, after a long silence, Claire admitted she had looked up the name Audra. She had found fragments, old articles, whispers of a scandal involving stolen art and a missing heiress. None of it was clear, but all of it pointed back to Holden. He said nothing at first, then told her it was complicated, that Audra was a chapter closed long ago. But when she asked if Sienna had been part of it, his hesitation gave her all the answer she needed. Back at her club, Sienna prepared to close for the night, but she couldn't shake the thrill that ran through her veins. She had seen the way Claire looked at her, full of suspicion but also hunger for truth. It was only a matter of time before the girl went digging, and when she did, Sienna would make sure she found exactly what she wanted her to find. There were old debts to settle, and if dragging the past into the present was the only way to do it, then so be it. Holden could sense the storm coming. Every instinct told him to get out of Los Angeles, to take Claire back to Genoa City and start over again. But running never truly fixed anything, it only postponed the inevitable. He had learned that the hard way. The night before they left, he found himself standing outside Sienna's club again. He didn't go in, just stood across the street watching the lights flicker against the pavement. He thought about Audra, how her laughter used to echo through these same streets, how quickly everything had gone wrong. He wondered if Sienna knew what had really happened that night, if she held the final piece of the truth. When they returned to Genoa City, Claire's curiosity had hardened into determination. She couldn't stop thinking about what Sienna had said, about the way Holden's face had changed when he heard Audra's name. She began asking quiet questions, tracing connections between Los Angeles and Genoa, between Holden's old life and the one he had built now. The answers that came back were fragmented but enough to suggest something darker, a crime never solved, a witness who never testified, and a woman who had disappeared without a trace. It was only a matter of time before Sienna followed. She arrived in Genoa City like a storm disguised as sunlight, bringing with her the glamour of Los Angeles and the poison of memory. Her reunion with Holden was public, her smile wide and dangerous. She told him she was just visiting, but the look in her eyes said otherwise. She knew something, and she intended to use it. For all his warnings, for all his attempts to bury the past, Holden understood that Sienna was right about one thing: the past never really stays dead. It lingers in corners, waits for weakness, and strikes when you've begun to believe you're safe. As the days unfolded, the tension grew unbearable. Claire began piecing together more of the story: how Holden and Audra had once been suspected of stealing from a gallery where Sienna had performed, how the police had found blood on the floor but never a body. She realized that whatever Holden was hiding wasn't just shame, it was fear. And if Sienna was here now, that fear had reason. Holden's nights became sleepless. He imagined headlines, interrogations, the return of faces he had long tried to forget. Sienna, meanwhile, seemed to relish every second of his unraveling. She flirted with danger the way she always had, attending local events, dropping hints to reporters, whispering to anyone who would listen that Los Angeles wasn't done with Holden Romalotti yet. And somewhere, in the swirl of gossip and half-truths, the name Audra began to surface again. For Claire, the realization came slowly but with crushing certainty: she wasn't just caught in Holden's love story, she was caught in his unfinished crime. And as Sienna's web began to tighten around them all, Los Angeles didn't feel so far away anymore. It lived inside them now, in every secret withheld, every lie told for protection. By the time Holden finally confronted Sienna, the line between guilt and innocence had blurred beyond recognition. She told him she had warned him years ago, that the past always collects its due. He asked what she wanted, but she only smiled, whispering that she already had what she needed: the truth, and the power it carried. In that moment, Holden understood that escaping Los Angeles had never meant escaping himself. The city, Sienna, Audra, all of it lived on in him, waiting for this reckoning. And as Claire stood watching from the doorway, realizing how deep the story ran, she saw the truth not as a revelation but as a curse. In Genoa City, love and destruction were never far apart, and Holden's past had finally come home.